All right. Welcome back to Eyes Open Media. I was just doing an hour of worship and praise there, and before I just came on right now. So, I'm in the mood to talk about this topic right here about praying and casting out devils and demons and out of your body, and rebuking sickness and being healed. And why is it such a struggle? As you see, this guy right here, this character right here has a sword in his hand, and then you look at the sky. The sky has a like a skull demon face on there. It's a pretty intense, and the sword has fire coming through it, right? So it's a pretty intense picture. So I wanted to use this picture for this topic because all of us are pray against sickness. We pray against the things that we're doing that are sin, that are causing us to sin in life. We pray against the foolishness stuff that we do. We pray against a lot of things, but yet at the same time, those things, when we pray against it, it seems like we want to do it more, and people don't understand why that is. So today I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about why that is, and yeah. So we pray and we pray and we pray to for things, and a lot of times we're not praying correctly. That's number one. Number one is we're not praying correctly. We're not praying the proper way to release whatever is affecting your life to be released. Okay, so just like an example, if you're having problems with fornication, if you're having problems with fornicating, and you're having a problems with that, you don't you don't just pray to break the fornication, because fornication comes from lusting, right? So you want to break the spirit of lust. And so a lot of times we pray at what we think we are praying for. We pray against the what we see, and not what the actual really what's the cause of the sin, right? And also, it's the same thing, like if people have sickness. Okay, you want to pray what brought the sickness in, and not just the sickness. You don't want to just pray against the sickness, but you want to pray against what brought the sickness in, and the generational curses that go with the sickness, because that is the stronghold of the sickness. Okay, so you don't want to just pray, cancer be gone, cancer be gone. Every day you're just praying against cancer, but you're not praying against why the cancer is there. You're not praying against the generational curse that might be on your father and your mother's side, going back to Adam and Eve, that might have brought that cancer in as well. And you're not praying against why that cancer is there. So you want to pray the stronghold. The cancer is not the stronghold, it's what brought it in. It's the stronghold, right? So like I did the video on cancer, and the stronghold of that is unforgiveness, right? The sin of unforgiveness brought in the cancer, right? So you want to pray against unforgiveness. If you're having problems with a perversion and things of that, you want to pray against lust. Lust is the stronghold, right? So the lust brings the perversion. Lust brings with the fornication and all that stuff. That is the lust. So we want to pray against lust. That's the stronghold, right? So and why does that? So, and here's the thing: why is it so hard? And the reason why it's so hard is because you're casting out the demon. Okay, the demon that is making you do these things, or the demon that is bringing the sickness, or whatever the case may be. They don't want to leave. They need, demons can only stay alive really, and work and function in bodies, right? They need bodies. They need animal bodies. They can go into animals, or they can go into human bodies, but they need a body. Okay, so when you're casting these demons out, or you're casting the sickness out, which is really a demon, and you're casting all these things out of you, it's sometimes, a lot of times, and most of the time, it gets a lot harder. You go into, like this picture is, you go into a battle. It's not just, you don't just say it one or two times and they leave. That's just, it doesn't work that way. You have to battle, and if you're not battling, then you're not gonna win. Okay. So what happens is when you pray against something, like let me do something. For example, when I was having lots and lots of breathing problems, because I battled with asthma my whole entire life since I was a little kid. Well, actually, growing up as a kid, I didn't have asthma, and so I was able to run and be free. And then all of a sudden, I came up with wheezing and asthma and things of that nature, and I battled with it for all my life. So and then when I started to fast and stuff, and then I asked Prophet Solomon to make me a prayer tape to beat this demon of asthma. And now, the last 2 years, I've been breathing a whole much better. I don't have any real big signs of it. I still think there's a little bit of stuff there, but it's definitely nowhere close to where it used to be at all. But here's the thing. When I was going through that, I went into a fast. Okay, I went into a 7-day fast, and this is like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when I was battling this. When I was fasting against asthma, and so what happened was the asthma got worse, right? Because why? Because you're trying to cast the demons out of your lungs. So the asthma got worse. And why does it get worse is because the demons don't want to leave, and they understand that they're about to be rebuked, and they're about to be cast out of you. So what they do is they pounce on you a lot harder, and they try to basically strangle choke you, and hold on to their life. Okay, and so it gets harder for you. And so what you want to do is you want to keep at it, because if things are getting harder, that means you're about to win. Okay. So I remember, not being able to breathe, going into work, not being able to breathe, not, having to sit down because I can't breathe. And I remember prophetess was telling me, you're about to win. You're about to see the victory. It's getting harder because you're about to see the victory. And that's how life is. And then a couple of days, what happens is it goes from a peak of just intense battle, and then all of a sudden you start to breathe better. You're starting to breathe. You say, wait a minute, I'm winning. And your confidence, it goes to extraordinary. And that's because they're being released. They have no longer authority in you. And so those demons start to be released. And now you're able to breathe. And it was incredible, because when I finished the fast, and people noticed that I wasn't bending over, struggling to breathe. I didn't have, I wasn't doing the things that I used to do. And they said, what happened to you? I thought you had breathing problems. I said, man, they said, was it the 7-day fast you just did? I said, yeah, man. And I finished it off with a Sunday water fast. And people noticed at my job. People, when I was working in the government job, I've been out of that for a while now. But when I was working, people noticed that the fasting worked. And it changed people, because they saw a man like me not be able to breathe. And then all of a sudden, I was walking straight. I was talking, and I didn't have the breathing problem. Okay. So that's what happens. Okay. So when you go after a certain area in your life, if it's cancer, if it's AIDS, if it's sexual transmitted diseases, if it's something in your organs, if it's headaches, migraines, whatever it is that the demons are causing to go in your body, or create a havoc or chaos in your body. When you start to go after it, maybe the first 2 days of intense prayer, nothing might seem to happen, and then all of a sudden it's going to get worse, because now you're in a battle. As you can see, like this guy right here has a stick in his hand with the fire on it, and then the sky is looking mean, right? Because the sky realizes that it's about to be a battle, right? So what happens is, let's just do migraine for a second. If you have migraines, right, it's just basically it's just demons in your head, causing the migraines. So when you start to rebuke the migraines and start to cast out the demons and migraines and start to ask God for healing of the migraines, what happens? And a lot of times when you're going for healing and stuff, you want to be fasting. You want to fast when you do a lot of these healings. Okay, you don't have to, but fasting, it will definitely help you accelerate the process. Okay, but let's so you're praying against your migraines, you're praying against headaches. I know a lot of people with migraines and headache problems, and all it is demons that are in your head, and most likely a lot of those demons and the reason why they're able to come in there and mess with your migraines, it's through fornication, and it's through music. It's through music. If you're listening to a lot of worldly music, that's where your migraines come from. Fornication and music. I know many people that fornicate and do and listen to worldly music that have migraines. Okay, and I always tell them, you know the cause of it. Okay, so if you want to stick with the migraines, you can't just pray the migraines away because you're still listening to the worldly music. You have no power and no authority to remove that migraine, because you're still living in the sin. So we have to understand that we can't. If there's a cause to the sin, we got to remove that cause first, and then we take care of the sin. Okay. So the cause is worldly music, and fornication for migraines, right? And most of the time, it might be some other things as well, but most of the time that's what it is. So you remove that, and then you deal with the migraine. And what's going to happen is the migraine is going to get even bad. It's going to get worse. It might get even as worse that you might have to go to the hospital. That's how bad it's going to be. But that means you're winning. Okay, that doesn't mean you're losing. Okay, so a lot of times people see the pain and they give up because they think it's getting worse, and they think that because they're praying it, that the devil and the demons are putting a stronghold on you, and so you stop. You stop because you are afraid. You're afraid because it's getting worse. But in actuality, that is deception. That is the deception that Satan uses. And you have to understand that if it's getting worse, that means you're winning. And you have to just keep at it. Even if you might have to go to, sometimes it might be so bad you might have to go to the hospital. That's fine. But you got to keep at it because you're winning. You're winning. You're winning. You're winning. And just in a couple of days, you're going to see it toned down, and then you're going to see it completely gone. Okay, but people don't get to that stage because many people, once the devil turns that migraine up to 1,000, you give up, and then you go, oh my God, this is painful, I'm done, and then you allow the devil to win. Okay, so. And then the migraine demons stay in there, and the migraine continues for years and years and years. You have to go to battle. You have to go to war. Yeshua, Jesus Christ, went to battle. He went to war against Satan. Okay, so if the perfect one has to go to battle, you have to go to battle. If Moses has to go to battle, you have to go to battle. If Daniel had to go to battle against the mark of the beast, you have to go to battle. Okay, we can't just sit here and act like we don't have to go to battle. Okay, we have things that we need to deal with in our lives, in our personal lives. Okay, we have diseases and sicknesses and all types of stuff in people's bodies. We have to deal with these things. Okay, and you have to go to battle. You have to go to war, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to be painful at times because you're removing and casting out things that want to stay. Okay, so they're going to put a chokehold on you, and you got to continue, and you got to fight, and you got to understand that if it's painful, that means you're winning, and that means you're about to see the full release of them. Okay, so when it gets to that painful position, you got to keep on, because when you keep on, it's just like life. When things start to be thrown at your way, and life seems to go all types of craziness, it's because there's a blessing on the other side, and so you got to keep at it. There's a bonus, there's a blessing, there's prosperity on the other side, and you got to keep at it. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And when you guys go into prayer tonight, and you're praying against sickness and diseases and all the things that you're doing that are wrong in God's eyes, you are going to understand that it's about to turn up, and you got to go into battle, and you got to win that battle, okay, to free yourself. And we're going to reset our lives in 2017. Eyes open.